Hey, what is up ladies and gentlemen, I am Tiana here once again and I'm back for some more of the Maxi Toys videos, and ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my Let's Play of Kirby's Dream Land 2 for the Game Boy. So last time we actually explored through Red Canyon and especially Cloudy Kingdom. And also in addition to that though, we actually managed to obtain the other two rainbow drops. And today for this episode, folks, is going to be the finale of this game's Let's Play. So that means we can actually tackle through the final main world in this game, but in forms of level 7, which is known as Dark Castle. So even then though, that I wonder who's responsible for all this kinds of stuff after we actually obtain every single rainbow drops as much as possible. So even then though, that as far as this world is concerned, I'm assuming this world is kind of reminds me of almost related to Mount DDD from the first Dreamland game, because you have to deal with the boss endurance run through, and especially noticeable in level 2 in Rainbow Resort in Kirby's Adventure. Because I say that is because every single level in your forms of Dark Castle normally contains like two different versions of the exactly the same level, but with slightly alterations. And especially noticeable that you'll see one in just a moment. But for now, we got ourselves an auto-scoring sequences here. So even though that's the thing I'm not really a big fan of when it comes to 2D platformers like this, but I'm pretty sure enough I can able to do this just fine. So yeah, as you can tell, that the whole entire focus of this world is to actually basically beat the likes out of these mini fights, even then or the mini bosses. So that's all how this particular world actually describes as. So even then though, I really get the feeling there won't any issues during the levels themselves until level 6, because of all the levels we're gonna have to run into at this point. Well, granted though, I'm not gonna talk about it anytime soon until when we get to the proceedings of the Dark Castle. So, I've almost got a perfect run through on that particular minigame goal here, but naturally I was really dang close. Almost to level 2 here, and as you can tell, that we immediately start things off where we're trying to swim here. Now, using a copy ability can be a little bit of a problematic in this particular segments like this, because obviously we don't usually use that much. So anyway, yeah, because for the most part though, that, yeah, you know, you can't really deal with copy abilities in underwater most of the time, although, which is pretty obvious. But anyway, let's go ahead and just get ourselves our Parasol copy ability right here. And actually, I might as well actually dish that out. Okay then. So I'm always stuck with the Parasol copy ability as a result. But anyway, again, there's not much else I can really talk for this point, folks, besides yesterday that I've managed to able to watch the yet again, but in forms of the Winter Olympics yesterday. And so far from the actual premise of the Great Britain companion, or in this case the Great Britain's Korea, you know how the fact that there's actually events called the Short Track 1000 meters, which by the forms of how the fact that this is actually a really good way to actually grind for extra lives, because this is actually a really good area to able to obtain extra lives from, and as a result for this kinds of stuff, because of how the fact that, well, I don't think this world wasn't nearly as hard as compared to Cloudy Park, but again, when we get to level 6, that it gets really stingy for the most part. But anyways, let's go ahead and beat the likes out of this little squid-based enemy here. In fact, we're almost just trying to kill him for the most part. But anyway though, in the forms of the Short Track 1000 meters event, but in forms of at least Christine, that she's got back into the ice skating event, or in this case the speed skating event. Unfortunately, third time unlucky because of how the fact that, well, she managed to go for the actual race just fine this time around though, although she did make a mistake at the very beginning. But luckily though, they did have the ability to able to restart the race. But unfortunately though, that's not been seems the case until the very end of the actual race, because she accidentally come across into a yellow card, means that she actually disqualified, which I'm pretty sure it does the exact same thing in terms of how it does it in the forms of the Sochi 2014 about 4 years ago, but even then I might be wrong about this results. So anyway, that's it for level 2, and now let's move on to level 3, and yeah, I do apologize of how the fact that sometimes my video footage can get a little bit more blurry effect than going on here, but even then I do apologize for that. Ah, there goes my Rick the hamster, so... Oh well, at least we can able to actually just to breathe, you know, trying to go ahead and just breeze for this stage quite normally though, so... And believe it or not, folks, is the fact that, this world actually contains the 7th and the final, rainbow drop in this world, because as a result, I think the only location is going to be located in, by the forms of the rainbow drop itself, is going to be in level 7, San Fernando, aka the final platforming level in this game, so... Yeah, let's see how this goes, but when it comes to those little, stage layouts like that, so... This world is going to be a hell of a lot more influenced with auto-scrolling sequences here, because even then, I'm not a big fan of, again, I'm not a big fan of those auto-scrolling sequences here, but for the most part though, it just gets a little bit more, well, tricky and difficult if you know what you, if you know the layouts very well, then you'll probably be able to actually pass through this just fine. But when we get to level 6, as I mentioned earlier, that will have to be one of the hardest levels in the entire game, in my opinion. But even then, though, we'll get to that eventually. So even then, we got ourselves a War Whips right here, which by the forms of the returning enemy based off from Kirby's adventure after all. So anyways, let's go ahead and obtain the Ice ability, which we probably won't going to be needing for that Kirby ability, at least until when it gets to level 6. Oh, no, not level 6. Level 7 is that we're actually going to be doing with... well, something completely different for one of, between one of those emphases. So, anyway, level 4, this is basically the exact same level as level 1, except the fact that there's going to be some major differences. Now, you've already, mentioned, now you've probably already noticed from this footage, right from the start, we'd already explored through, level 1, 2, and 3, but then when we get to level 4 and 5 and 6, is that we get the exact same level layout, except the fact that, well, first off, is that the entire level itself is completely mirrored. This is when Mario Kart exists by the forms of the mirror class. And secondly is the fact that the enemy placements are now in a different place, and especially noticeable, they are a lot more harder to deal with. And another noticeable thing is about this is the fact that auto-scoring is now going on to the left instead of the normal right. So naturally though, it makes it incredibly difficult when it comes to auto-scoring sequences, as I mentioned earlier, until when we get to level 6 apparently, or in this case level 6 when we get to it. So anyways though, let's go ahead and beat the likes out of this little ninja-based mini-boss, and it might be seems really easy at first, but again, it's just a lot of emphasis on dodging based, and even then though, that's, oh, I've almost got hit twice, but even then though, that's just hoping if I don't get hit quite a few times as far as I'm worried about. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Hopefully I might as well get us the last hit right there from that ninja, enemy right there. Come on. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. This is really ticking me off. And there goes my extra life. Yeah, I don't know if you noticed for this point, folks, but even then, I always found the ninja fight to be a lot more tougher compared to any other mini-fights, because not only is he fast or anything, or probably it's because I wasn't paying too much attention to, but that's just how it is for me. So anyways, let's go ahead and just try to deal with him again. I'm hoping I can able to actually just bypass through everything. Come on, there we go. Jeez. But naturally at this point, folks, is that we're pretty much almost nearly towards the end of this game until when Mario decided to go back into NES remakes eventually after this game is finished. And beyond that, we're actually going to be coming across into even more Let's Plays, like the most recent Mario Party game, but in forms of Mario Party the Top 100 for the 3DS. But even then though, that, because of how the fact that, I've heard from some rumors they try to be making Mario Party 11 for the Nintendo Switch, but, I believe if I was expecting this correctly, the fact that, I'm pretty sure that, when, Mario and Sonic has already mentioned about this and during the likes of the My Little Pony Harmony Quest, Let's Play, of how the fact that, while the rumor is going to be saying that Mario Party 11 is going to be releasing on the Nintendo Switch, I'm really hoping they won't bring back the car mechanics, because even then though that, well, I do like it at first in Mario Party 9, but when it gets to Mario Party 10, it just feels kind of underwhelming, because even then though that, well, at this point we were so used to with the classic elements to the mix, like the forms of Mario Parties 1 through 8. In fact, speaking of such though, is that eventually in the next couple of days, I might decide to pick up myself the original cartridge version of Mario Party 2. So just in case I'm able to actually replay that game again on the forms of the original, well, physical release. Well, granted, I've already got that on the Nintendo Wii's Virtual Console, but again, at this point in time, that when it gets to next month, that you won't have the ability to able to add in with more Wii points, unfortunately. Luckily, you can get Mario Party 2 thanks to the Nintendo Wii U eShop download, quite frankly. But naturally so, that might be seems the case. So anyway, and unfortunately, since we've still got GUI right there, or in this case well, it gives you a bit of health. I think the only time you can able to get yourselves another version of the GUI, but in forms of do not able to take damage runs. So yeah, I might as well have to come back for it until when it gets to the point until we finish the main game. Well, I'm hoping if though anyway, but I digress. Okay, so here we go with Rocky again. So, naturally, this might be the final time we're going to be seeing him, but in forms of the actual video game enemies at this point, because, well, after this game, we'll never saw him the light of day. Well, at least I was hoping he'll come back and doing the likes of, well, I would normally say for Kirby-style allies next month, but I really don't know 100% sure. Anyways, here's the most, hardest level in the entire game, in my opinion, and this is the forms of, well, level 6, in the forms of World 7-6. Now, the reason why I found this level is so damn difficult by comparison to any other levels in Dark Castle is that, well, for starters, the wind currents wasn't so bad, but until when it gets to the auto-scoring sequence after this door here, holy crap, this section is so tough. Because, you know how the fact that you were so used to with, the normal version of this particular level alone. Granted, it's the exact same level as how it does it in level 3, except it makes it a little bit more tougher, or in this gets worse. But even then though, that, well, because first off is that the screen is constantly scrolling first off, and plus you can never really tell if where you're able to supposed to go. Like as you can see, I've accidentally went into the bottom part, and no matter what though, if you manage to get crushed, then instant death, so you have to redo the entire section. That is by far the hardest level in the game, in my opinion, just because, well, it's a bit like how it does it in level 3 for that, small extent, but at least I found level 3 to be aren't as hard compared to how it does it in this level was. But that's only because of how the fact that, oh, you gotta be kidding me, I went to the wrong way. Oh, I'm a complete idiot. Hey. Well, luckily though, this section is really short, so even then though that, hopefully I might as well able to actually finish this section during that time. But anyway though, as far as I mentioned earlier about the fact that of the rumor of the Mario Party 11 coming to the Nintendo Switch, that as I mentioned earlier, I'm really hoping that we're going back into the classic roots and the console entry, because normally we've got Mario Party Star Rush and Mario Party the Top 100 that usually brings back the classic elements, but except the fact that in Mario Party the Top 100 does not contain as many boards as I'm hoping it will be, which even then it only contains one board and that's it, which even then has incredibly bad bones. But at least as far as compared to Star Rush, at least in Star Rush only has like about 15 from Toad Scramble mode and 3 from Balloon Bash, so that makes it in total of 18 boards, so that's quite big. At least as far as it can be, like, somewhat playable, and plus it has some really good roster of characters in Star Rush compared to the Top 100, because I have no idea why they still ditched out Donkey Kong ever since Mario Party 9, or in this case Mario Party Island Tour recently. Whatever's back it was since then, because DK was absent in the forms of, you know, or in this case Donkey Kong as a full name, is being completely absent in the forms of Mario Party Island Tour, and even especially Mario Party Advance. So, anyway though, but I was really hoping if the car mechanic won't make a return. Let's just gonna say that much now, I'm hope. So here we go folks, here's the last main platforming level in the forms of Kirby's Dream Land 2. This is level 7, and that's another, as I mentioned earlier, sorry for a little bit of a tongue twisting in the end folks, Naturally, this is going to be the final rainbow stone that we can or the rainbow drop that we can able to actually obtain from. So all you have to do in this particular requirement of the rainbow drop requirement is that we need to actually get ourselves our corresponding copy abilities. First, we need fire to actually melt down those ice blocks, and the second one we need is the forms of rock. So that way we can able to actually bust for those little blocks from well, if we go up, and assuming if I can able to jump correctly, until you break these blocks right there. Although you can also use this spark, but it will actually takes you into the different routes, so I'm probably not going to do that. Next copy ability I need is the forms of needle, and the fourth one will actually go on. It goes to ice, and the final one which the forms of cutter. So you have to do this particular sequence for about 5 times. See, Fernando, that just makes it a little bit more, you know, obvious of how the fact of the, you know, the rainbow drop requirement. But yeah, that's as far as I can go. But, as far as you might as well think about yourselves, what happens if you do not collect every single rainbow drops? Take a notice from the Sonic the Hedgehog games, most notably the 2D ones, ever since, well, Sonic the Hedgehog 1, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and Sonic & Knuckles, and even especially in Sonic 3D Flicky's Island, despite the fact there was an isometric view game, and especially in the most recently, Sonic Mania, and I think that's about it for the most part. This game actually influenced 2 endings, which is one in forms of the good ending or the best ending. Oh, how is that really, how is this fair? I mean, that's just really unfair. Like, that thing just appears out of thin air. Oh, don't tell me this is a bit like Zelda 2 The Adventure of Link kind of syndrome. But, whatever. Anyway, so we got ourselves the final mini-boss before we're able to deal with the next boss throughout in this game. Because, well, I'll get to more details onto that until we get to the actual point. But anyways, this might be the final time we're going to be seeing this. Come on, go for a perfect. Yes! Perfect run indeed from the forms of the final level. Well, at least in the platforming levels, though, anyway. So here we go, folks, onto the forms of the boss in the forms of Dark Castle boss. Again, as far as you probably already noticed, is that there's no minigame to be involved in here, because we got ourselves King Dedede, the returning boss from ever since Kirby's Dream Land 1, and Kirby's Adventure since then. However, though, unlike the ones in Kirby's Adventure, and especially Kirby's Dream Land, is that I found the reincarnation of King Dedede fight to be quite twice as easy. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem applies to this version, unfortunately, because I found them to be really dang hard. Because the main premise of this fight, though, is the fact that he's somewhat sleeping, because as far as I can see, because he got his eyes closed. So I wonder who possessed him. But even then, we'll never know, and plus you can see those little quantity of Zs everywhere else, because that actually represents, well, sleeping. This is what makes this fight a little bit more harder compared to how it does in Kirby's Adventure and Kirby's Dream Land 1, is because every time when he gets furious, especially noticeable that he gets way too cheap like here, but even then though, that if you do not pay attention to that attack, then chances are you're gonna die a lot in this fight. And as a result though, you need to keep an eye on your toes before you're able to actually do not get hit, or in this case just trying to hopefully, God forbid, trying to take no damage, because as a result, he's by far the hardest King Dedede fight out of all the Kirby games so far. At least as far as for my circumstances. But anyway, because much like how it does in Kirby's Adventure, in this case Kirby's Dream Land also, he has way too much health, and as a result, he has too much defense. So even then though, every time you inhale the, you know, the star projectile back at him, you only get lesser amount of damage, or the lesser amount of hits. So as a result, some of these attacks are really dang annoying to dodge too. Like, for instance, this little projectile setting, and especially noticeable with this really overpowered hammer attack, which, by the way, the explosion effects that he's created, he will hurt you. So even then though, you do need to watch out for that. So as a result, again, this is definitely the more tougher fight than the likes of Kirby's Dream Land counterparts, or even Kirby's Adventure counterparts. So because of that, well, you do have a little bit more room in Kirby's Adventure, to be a small extent, but not so much room for this game because of how the fact of the screen crunch, and yeah, I died again, so That's just terrific. Hopefully I might as well do this one more time, and if I manage to die one last time, then I have to basically have to jump cut for this part, because even then though, jeez, he's a lot more harder than the likes of these previous two counterparts of King Dedede after all. But anyways though, but luckily though, I've managed to get myself 34 lives at least, so even then, still got plenty of lives into my disposal, so naturally speaking, I was off by one mini-star to be able to actually obtain the next extra one up, which I assume I just realized. But anyways, he still actually obtained himself the exact same abilities as the forms of, well, for King Dedede anyway. But in forms of, he can still do his little, bungee jump ability and the inhale ability right there. And especially noticeable with this, hammer, which is his, the default weapon. And, again, what makes this a little bit more tougher compared to the others is the fact that, especially any other bosses in this game, actually, is that his mood, or in this case, his temper mood, is actually a lot more difficult to deal with, because he can never tell what the attack pattern is going to do next. And as a result, though, you're going to get hit a lot. So, yeah, definitely one of the tougher fights. Okay. We're almost done. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. I was hoping I can actually inhale that projectile, but unfortunately I get hit so easily. Okay, let's dodge that. Dodge those stars, because that will also hurt you. So, oh, come on, it's only 5 units of health left before he's down completely. But naturally, it's not going to be as easy as it should be. Okay, come on. Okay, there we go. No! Ah, shoot! That was way too cheap. I'll be right back. Hi, yay. Naturally, I've got 33 lives left, so... God dang. That is way tougher than it looks. But naturally though, I've got more health than him at this point. Well, not for long though, because even then though that... Well, good thing that he temporarily, cools down for a bit, because even then though, he'll goes back into its normal state. But again, sometimes it goes completely random with his attacks like here. And especially noticeable with, depends on what mood he's in. Depends on if it's either the good behavior or the bad behavior. Chances are you will gonna be messed up for these little moves like that. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. I've got 1 health left again. Come on. Oh, just a little bit more, tad bit more health left. Oh, please don't tell me he's gonna be able to actually kill me by the forms of these, the most cheapest attacker of them all. Oh, good. He's actually doing that attack. Booyah! There we go. That concludes King Dedede. Of course, if you manage to obtain all 7 of these rainbow drops, you get yourselves this particular scene. We got ourselves all these rainbow drops, somehow, connects to each other, or in this case, just gets into each other. And when all these 7 rainbow drops combined... Is that a sword? Oh, I wonder why. Oh my god, who was that? Well, we'll never know until we're able to face off against with him. So, naturally speaking... here we go, folks. Here's the forms of the final boss in the forms of, or the true final boss in Kirby's Dream Land 2. Because again, if you did not collect all of the rainbow drops, King Dedede might actually be the final fight in the game if you do not collect every single rainbow drops. But if you grab all these rainbow drops, it actually leads you to the true final boss in the game. So... yeah, so the forms of the fact that we're going to be fighting against is the forms of Dark Matter. So, he's pretty much by far the hardest boss in the game, because as you expected from any other final bosses out there. Expecting so, because of the fact that it gets really, really dang tough and difficult. But even then, no, that's as far as I can really tell for this point and onwards. So, yeah, because... ah, I died. I don't know what I'm supposed to do right there, but again, it's actually my first time I've ever going to be fighting this boss, but naturally, I might actually just lose at least 1 life while battling this guy. So naturally, this is the forms of Dark Matter, as I mentioned earlier. This is his first form, by the way, because as you can tell, he almost kind of reminds me like a Japanese anime character for some reason. I don't know what it is, probably because of their look, or even especially noticeable by the forms of, well, just for the sake of, like, you know, just pretty much everything. For this matter, though, anyway. But, that I digress. So, naturally, this fight, all you have to do is basically, it's pretty simple. We have to, you know, try to deal with, trying to deal with the actual, copy ability itself, or in this case, just trying to get used to what the actual, premise of the actual, you know, the copy ability, which, by the way, the copy ability by the forms of, the final copy abilities I hold on to right about now, this way is the actually forms of, if I can actually just look that up recently, if only if my, phone decides to actually not helping me at all. But anyway, though, but in forms of the actual standpoint, and in fact, I just died by this harder to dodge move. In fact, I was off by 3 units of health at this point. But even then, though, that's as far as I can usually, as far as this actual premise goes, that's all I can say. But again, I really do apologize about the fact there's not much else to talk for this point, because, well, again, I'm running out of ideas for, news-related stuff. Although I've noticed something right from the get-go, is the fact that they've recently managed to make an update, but in forms of the Switch version of the forms of the Switch version of, Doom. And they managed to be able to actually utilize the motion controls this time, which even then though, that makes it a little bit more, well, at least gyro controls anyway. But even then though, that's the only thing I can think of, to be honest. But even then though, but again, because I'm running out of ideas, so even then though, I'm hoping I can able to talk more to this point, but unfortunately there's no chance. But anyway, oh, you gotta be kidding me, I've got 1 unit of health left, and I died again, so I'll meet you guys back. Actually, I might as well able to actually redo this fight again, but even then, well, usually kind of speaking of such though, is that this battle sort of feels a bit similar to the ones with, the ones in Kirby's Adventure you have to fight against with, you know, Nightmare, in the forms of the actual moon, or the actual space. But naturally so, it kind of does the exact same thing for this game, but except we're not going into the moon, because, you know, we're basically trying to able to deal with him just as that. So, anywho, yeah, again, not much to this fight, although there's actually an alternative way you can able to actually deal with this particular dark matter, is that you can able to reflect the projectile right back at him, somewhat similar to how it does it in your forms of The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past, but in forms of how the fact that you can able to actually just to see, it actually deals some more damage. So even then though, that may be pretty good if you want to able to actually just to see if you can able to do twice the amount of damage on this particular dark matter. Of course, the copy ability deforms as you can see, and I died again. I'll meet you guys back. Okay then, so, as I mentioned earlier, how the fact that, as you can tell, we've got my new copy ability, but in forms of, well, this might be the final copy ability in Kirby's Dream Land 2. This is the forms of Rainbow Sword, which is something is almost exactly identical to the regular sword, but except the fact that it actually deals damage by the forms of dark matter. Oh snap! It looks like we got ourselves another form of dark matter, but in forms of the final form. And as you can see on screen, as you can see here, we're actually going down. So as a result, much like in Kirby's Adventures, that we need to be fast and quick. Ah, you gotta be kidding me. Don't tell me I have to redo the entire fight again, aren't I? Son of a pig! Alright, there we go. Now we've done with that. Anyways, let's redo this fight again, and as you can tell, I've managed to re-grab my extra life. Although, kind of thinking about it though, is the fact that what makes it a little bit of annoying though, is that after when you accidentally exit the level out. Oh yeah, by the way, as you can see right there, I managed to reflect those projectiles right back at Dark Matter's, second form. It will actually do a lot of damage right there, so even then, I highly suggest you do that. Granted, it might be a little bit cheating to do that, but honestly, I don't care. But even then, though, we finished Kirby's Dream Land 2. And let's watch the ending. So naturally, that, Ko, especially with Kine and Rick, the hamster, managed to see what's above from the skies. And, I believe King DDD as well, I think. Because even then, though, that, he's gone back to normal at least. Which, much like how it does in Kirby's Adventure, that he did somewhat a little bit more of a good guy slash bad guy, but even then, that's as far as I can tell. So anyways though, I really love this animated sprite of the actual scene here. So anyways, there's the staff credits of this game, seeing that how the forms of how the fact that we can actually use the rainbow sword to be able to actually restore the rainbow itself. So even then though, kind of like how it does in Kirby's Adventures plots, but except not, because even then though we got ourselves animal friends after all. So yeah, let's talk about the overalls of the game of Kirby's Dream Land 2. This is definitely a recommendable sequel by the forms of Kirby's Dream Land, by the forms of how the fact that, well, it's on the Game Boy, first off. And, if you enjoyed the first game before, you should probably enjoy the second game a bit more. Actually, I'll get to more overall details about the game once we get into the extra video of this game, because, as you can tell, this credit sequence is really short. So, as you can see, there's the ending image, by the forms of Kirby is now creating a rainbow, by the forms of the rainbow sword. So, very interesting. So, yeah. You know the dark matter villain by the forms of the final boss in the game, in Kirby's Dream Land 2? That will actually represent by the forms of the future Wait a minute. 99%? What am I missing? Oh, that's right. I'll be right back. Okay, so it turns out of how the fact that there's actually one missing requirement to able to actually get 100% complete in Kirby's Dream Land 2. Not only do you able to actually collect every single rainbow drops throughout each world, and also trying to able to complete those boss minigames as well, and also rescuing those animal friends after all, and basically pretty much everything, you actually need to obtain yourselves a nice version of the Kirby character, because as a result, you saw the plenty of run-throughs of every single level throughout this game. I'm actually able to actually defeat one of those small enemies throughout, but I didn't get the rarer variation of the Guen character, which even then, you know the Gui enemy that's actually a reference from, or the Gui character that's pretty much a reference to, you know, before when Kirby's Dream Land 3 exists. About the fact that that is definitely the most common character you can actually pull out, but it takes a lot of luck-based elements when you're able to actually get her, but after when you grab her, as far as I've realized, is that you get yourselves an extra life. So, that's the only missing I can think of by the forms. I think that's the only missing part of the 100% completion, so I'll meet you guys back in the title screen. So there we go, folks, we got back to the title screen, and as you can see, I've got myself 100% completion of my file now, so everything else should be good to go. But, I'm actually not going to be finishing this Let's Play for this point and onwards, because, as you can see, after you get the 100% completion, you get yourselves an option menu, which, if you get into it, you get yourself sound test, boss, and bonuses, which, speaking of such, during the next video tomorrow, by the forms of Kirby's Dream Land 2 Let's Play, is the fact that I'm going to be showing you guys the extra stuff of how this game offers to be, like sound, boss endurance, and basically bonus. So even then, see you guys next time. Later, fellas.